Welcome to Divine Design, where we talk about aspects of gaming that are truly special, or not so much. In the last few years, there's been a lot of discussion about what makes something truly a game. Titles like Dear Esther, Gone Home, and The Stanley Parable are prime examples of this. And there are ones that like Dear Esther and The Stanley Parable that are very story-driven but offer no gameplay besides going from point A to B. But is that a game? But yet, why do titles like Gone Home and Heavy Rain get away with it? I mean, they don't offer fantastic input like Mass Effect and crazy gameplay like Final Fantasy does. And trust me, I would love to put a bullet made of pure radiation soaked in spider venom crystallized into razor-sharp diamond needles right between the eyes of Final Fantasy VIII. But even that's a story-driven game.
The Kingdom Hearts franchise is considered by many to be some of the best JRPGs ever made, and some of the best games to even be conceptualized. There is such a wonder to the world, its characters, and the issues you're a part of. Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 nailed the perfect balance of giving the player enough information to feel fully engrossed in the experience, while also leaving a lot open to interpretation for fans to discuss for years to come, which is something that has long since been removed by Square's consistent need to make side story after side story after side story. You would think that with franchises like Disney and Square coming together, that a sense of mystery and imagination would be kept. It's about as rare as finding a Momeshi bar in your house nowadays. So Kingdom Hearts 2 starts off with yet another amazing track by Utada Hikaru. And yet, this whole time I'm just kind of asking myself, what the heck does what's going on screen have to do with anything in the game? Well, we see Sora and Kairi, Donald and Goofy, I mean that's kind of cool. Oh, and there's Riku too, but who the heck's that chick? And who's this other dude? What is the point of any of this? Whatever, it's freaking awesome. Oh, and now we got these two jokers chatting. But this one person, I can't quite hear his voice.
Excuse me. Could you speak up a tad? No, alright then, I mean, I don't need to hear what he's saying. It's just Kingdom Hearts 2, I mean, best sequel ever made, I don't need to know what's going on!
Well, once the game actually does start, we get a Majora's Mask style intro, and our new protagonist, who I swear is a pure-blooded Aryan. But yeah, who is this guy again? Where's Sora and the gang?
And thus begins what we're here to talk about.
You see, this entire intro is just a masterpiece. You see something you recognize, and then a moment later you're asking yourself 3 new questions. A few more things start to make sense, and then immediately you're lost again. What helps this is that Kingdom Hearts 2 knows it's a sequel, and fully acknowledges that it is possible that the player never touched the original game, or even the Game Boy Advance title, Chain of Memories. And this is where the main character, Roxas, is done so masterfully.
Kind of like my beloved Utada.
You see, Roxas is the perfect representation of the audience. I mentioned back in my Link to the Past video about how pacing is important in a game, but it's also one of the most important pieces of storytelling in general. Roxas goes through the same emotions, moments of questioning, realizations, and times of confusion at the exact same moment the player does. It really does know how to immerse you, which... yeah, there's a video about that too. Kingdom Hearts 2 progresses its story while also being able to show you what major events happen in the previous 2 titles. This works perfectly for both newcomers to the series and veterans alike. For those new, you get a slight overview of the major events that happened in the first game and Chain of Memories. If you did complete the others, then you get a nice concise recap of the plot, leading up to where we are now. It never feels like this is what it's trying to do though. It never feels like a summary, but instead like there's a legit connection between the events in Sora's journey and Roxas. Which, by the way, there totally is if you couldn't guess.
The point I'm trying to make is that Kingdom Hearts is a lot like Star Wars.
What?
Alright, Star Wars A New Hope and Kingdom Hearts 2 both start you off right in the middle of a story. There are already events that have happened, already conflict that exists, and you're just thrown right into it to discover the answers for yourself.
This is actually a pretty popular method of storytelling called in medias res, which literally translates to in the middle of. Oh yeah, and quick warning. If you don't know much about dramatic structure, you're about to.
The purpose of in medias res is that your experience of the plot doesn't start at the beginning of the story, but instead you're dropped somewhere in the middle. Actually, if you want another really good example of this done in a video game, check out the story of Star Fox. It's brilliant.
Just like my beloved Utada.
Now you may say, well, it's a sequel. Of course it's going to drop you in the middle of a story. While that may seem like the most logical decision, it's not always the smartest. To bring up Star Wars again, look at Empire Strikes Back. It's a sequel to A New Hope, yet does not use the structure of in medias res. Storytellers want to create something that anybody can jump into at any point. Aliens, Back to the Future 2, and Earthbound are all examples of sequels that tend to follow the more traditional Freytag's Pyramid. Freytag's Pyramid is a general standard when it comes to dramatic structure. It's a methodology I'm sure many of us are familiar with from school, but to briefly recap, it follows 5 key points. The exposition, followed by the rising action leading up to the climax, thus progressing to the falling action and wrapped up in the resolution, or better known, denouement.
Now you're probably wondering, how the heck did we get here from Kingdom Hearts? I mean, in just the intro of all pieces. Well, you see, Kingdom Hearts 2 does something that's incredibly fantastic, but also very difficult. It takes a giant set of plots and links them all together in one giant chain. I'm of course talking about the worlds.
The Kingdom Hearts universe doesn't simply follow one chain of memories. Good one. You have the ability to jump into multiple universes from the Disney and Square franchises. Each one of these worlds has its own story, its own unique characters, and sometimes these worlds have worlds within them, and the events that happen can have an effect on another, even though they're actually in separate realities.
The point that I'm trying to make is that Inception has nothing on Kingdom Hearts.
There is just something so fascinating about a game's story being able to do so many different styles and themes and culminate them all into a single, functional masterpiece. A part of me wonders if just one day at the office someone was like, "Hey Phil, but you can't make the most convoluted and obnoxiously complex video game story and also convey it in about 14 different methods." Ho, chosen ukere. Because they're Japanese. But from it, we've gotten worlds like the Timeless River, which is a pretty good example of Johakyu, a very fast-paced style that ends abruptly. The Little Mermaid world, which tends to follow the more sonata-form style with the music and the flow, which I hope you gathered. Plenty of worlds like the Pride Lands, Port Royal, and the Olympus Coliseum follow the more modern 3-act structure. We could even argue that the Hollows Bastion and Beast Castle seem to be modeled by the Kisho Tenketsu formula, focusing on plot twists and shock. And to hit it all off, let's just look at Sora and Riku's entire existence in the Kingdom Hearts universe. It is the perfect representation of the monomyth, or better known as the hero's journey. The reason all of this works is specifically because the game sets you a good foundation. Upon entering the world of Kingdom Hearts 2, you are thrown a lot of questions and are forced to tackle obstacles that seem out of the ordinary, and meet characters from all over. All while studying Roxas, the current protagonist, as he walks with the player through all of these events. Trying to find out who he is, what nobodies are, and just as we want to find Sora, so does Roxas. While the original Kingdom Hearts has its own method for setting up the player for what's to come, the way Kingdom Hearts does it, I don't just simply find better, but it's more inventive, more into the box, and helps solidify Kingdom Hearts 2 as one of the greatest sequels in video game history.
Being able to take all of these different types of narrative though and put them into one medium just really goes to show you the power that video games have. Especially the way Kingdom Hearts 2 does it is a true testament to some divine design. See you next time. You're quite divine yourself, Utada.